I experienced sexual abuse, and I experienced it for 3 years, and I said nothing about it. Hi, my name is Khadija, and this is my story. I was born in Jamaica, in Kingston, Jamaica, and in the places where most people wouldn't dare to visit. When I was 5 years old, I lost my father in one of the most brutal ways you could possibly imagine. And that played a very important role in a lot of the dysfunctions of my life. He was abusive, and unfortunately the only memories I have of my father are him being abusive to my mother. For me, love wasn't something that I desired. It wasn't something that I was ready to receive, because the love that I had known was flawed. It was empty, and I didn't want it. When I was 10 years old, I experienced sexual abuse, and I experienced it for 3 years. I said nothing about it because I was afraid, I was ashamed, I had so much guilt. So I felt like it wasn't worth speaking about. Maybe no one would believe me, and if they did, the consequences of what would have happened, I didn't want that to be on my shoulder. So I kept quiet about it. That led to problems with self-esteem. It led to issues with sexual identity, pornography, masturbation, all these things. And I never shared those parts of my story because there was so much shame, there was so much guilt, and I felt like if I wanted to be better than what I had seen, if I wanted to come out of the environment that I was raised in, there were parts of me that I couldn't show the world. And in hiding the frustrations and the anger and the shame, I ended up in a period of depression. I struggled with anxiety, I was suicidal. During all of this, I was dealing with it on my own. I'd be the one you'd see smiling at everybody. I'd be the one you see making jokes, but also be the one that would be crying herself to sleep at night when no one was there. I'd be smiling in the morning and I'd be weeping at night. And I decided that this world was just not where I wanted to be anymore. That led to attempted suicide. It was just so much, trying to deal with so much all at once. I remember in my final year of sixth form, I had to pull out of school for about 3 months. I had lost my grandfather. I was finally trying to deal with the fact that my dad was gone. I was trying to deal with sexual abuse. I was also trying to balance the fact that I was in an emotionally abusive relationship, and it all just took a toll. That same day, I went home, and being a Christian, the Christian thing to do was pray, but I couldn't even find it in me to actually pray. So I laid there and I said, you know what, God, I can't do this. And finally admitting that I could no longer do it in my own strength, admitting that I was weak, that I was broken, that I was hurt, I was wounded, was probably one of the most freeing things I had ever done in my 18 years of living, was being honest with myself and being honest with God. That marked a change in my entire life. I have been, ever since, been going through the process of healing. I laid there that night and I felt like God's hand was just wrapped around me. And it was just simply just admitting that I needed help. I didn't have to pretend anymore. I didn't have to pretend with God, and I didn't have to pretend with myself anymore. And I found peace in that. I have ever since been going through the process of seeing God much more than a dictator, but seeing him as a father and someone who loves me. So that's my story, learning to love beyond the wounds. I belong to you. I belong.